Today we have a lot of demos from Alex. So my talk, I try to have a short, brief talk on the slides. The most of thing you need to see is the action. So welcome to an overview of ArcGIS Experience Builder. I'm Jianxia Song, Product Manager for Web App Builder and Experience Builder, being Esri for 23 years. I was product engineer building Web App Builder from scratch. At that time, 2013, none of us will expect Web App Builder going to be so popular, to be honest. I'm so thankful for all of you using Web App Builder. So you make us so proud of that product. Also, that product is the first generation of cloud web application in the cloud. So we learned so much from you, gave us a lot of feedback. In 2017, we start thinking about the next generation of web app builder, that is Experience Builder. From that, then I transfer to be a product manager for Experience Builder. But the dev team remains the same. We are the same dev team for Web App Builder and Experience Builder. Today with me is Alex.
Hello, everyone. I work on the ArcGIS Solutions team. We work across a lot of different products, including Experience Builder and in the past Web App Builder. We contribute some of the tools that you've seen there in Web App Builder for those of you who are familiar, such as Smart Editor, batch attribute editing. And now we also contribute tools to Experience Builder.
We had a lot of great collaboration with multiple teams in Esri. It's not one team build the whole widgets. It's multiple teams contribute widgets together. Solutions is one of them. Please share your feedback in the app. So really thank you all for being here today. In this session, we'll explore what Experience Builder is and how to use it. Following that, we will provide a brief introduction to the developer edition, and we will conclude with the roadmap. First, I think I want to show a few user apps. You can find the user apps in the gallery on the product page. So you can see something built by users like you. Right? Here is the Green Print Explorer widget. It helps planners and the community leaders make right decisions about their land use. So we can turn on, off layers. There's many layers in here. And we can also select a theme using bookmark widgets. We can go to the tools to draw an area on the map to get demographic information about this area. For example, from census data, the population, housing, employment characteristics in the data. We can also draw graphics on the map or add text as well. Another important thing, this widget built by Alex and her team, you can draw lines on the map to get elevation profile about this line. And then you can also see the statistics as well about maximum elevation, etc. Lastly, we always like to print out the map. This app also has a manual so that you can see additional resources through the window. This is really typical map-centric application, but it's much powerful, right? You can have all the manual navigation to connect to other resources. This one I want to highlight is the European Environment and Health Atlas data built on Developer Edition. The first one is really out-of-box web experience builder in ArcGIS Online. So Developer Edition, this one is the multiple page website. You can think about it. So here we can check a place about the quality of the environment where you live, work, etc. For example, here I'm going to search Rome. Then we can turn on this legend to see the average concentration of particles is nitrogen and other factors. We also see the green space and the water within 0.2 kilometers in the area. We also can see how many hospitals within 3 kilometers. Then you can scroll down to see those information indicators, factors used in the calculation of the quality. We can also check maps here. In the map here, I'm going to select air pollution, and then we are going to see the years of life lost here. So you can see in the particle part of years of life lost, and the nitrogen dioxide as well. So right now, you pretty much have an idea about what Experience Builder can do, right? So this is the user gallery I said previously. So those two apps are chosen from this gallery. So you can check them out, get inspired, and see what's possible. If you think you have a great apps you want to share, please go to that product page and submit permission form so we can showcase your apps there as well. So what is Experience Builder? It enables you to create web apps you envision. You can explore design decisions with templates that are easily customizable. Use ready-to-use widgets. And when needed, build your own tools. It is data-driven and built on modern technology like React and ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript. React is the API used by Facebook. The product has the following key features: design freedom with drag and drop widgets on the canvas, smart widgets that talk with each other, mobile optimization, 2D and 3D in one app. It also has 2 configuration modes, so you can quickly create apps with express mode like Web App Builder. This one is introduced in last November. And when needed, do more in full mode. Integration with ArcGIS apps and capabilities is one of its strengths. With extensibility, you can create custom widgets and themes. Experience Builder comes with online, enterprise, and the developer edition. It requires creator and plus user types to create apps. Okay, let's take a tour with Alex.
Okay, so I'm going to walk you through creating a very simple application using Experience Builder. So to get started, I can open Experience Builder. On the top right, you'll see next to your profile photo, if you're using ArcGIS Online or Enterprise, you'll find a gallery of apps here. And one of them is Experience Builder. So I'll go ahead and click that. And now the gallery opens, and here I can manage my existing apps, or I can start creating new ones. Now, on the top right of the gallery, for those of you who are already familiar with this, you might see there's a new button that appeared at the end of last year, and it says, go to Express mode. And there's some more information here, basically letting you know that this is an easy and quick way to get started with Experience Builder. If you're familiar with Web App Builder, this is very similar to what we had there. It provides a limited amount of configurable functionality. Some of it is already pre-configured for you. And the templates include a map. And they're already predefined for a mobile device as well. So with this Express mode, you can go ahead and quickly get started building an app and keep it simple. So let's do that to start. So I'll toggle this on. And you'll see here now, I only have the apps that I've already built with Express mode. So let's go ahead and create a new application. Now on the left-hand side, you can see the templates I can use to build an app in Express mode. Again, if you're familiar with Web App Builder, you'll see these are the same templates that you used to have there. So you can click them and preview them first. And you can also see what they will look like on a smaller device. Once you know which one you want to choose, we'll do Billboard for now. You can go ahead and create a new app. Now, when the builder loads, you'll see the page is at the center, and currently this page has a map. And this is where you'll build and interact with your experience. So our application will be about trails in Yosemite National Park. So to start, I'll give my app a name. So we'll call it the Yosemite National Park's Trails. And now, since we already have a map, let's add some data to it. So in Express mode, I can simply click a widget on the page to configure it. And you'll see the configuration options on the right-hand side for that widget that you clicked. So under Select Map, I'll go ahead and add a new web map and a new web scene to my map widget. Each map widget can contain up to 2 maps. So I'll add both, and I'll make my 3D map to be the default one that loads first when my app loads. Now, in Express mode, I can go ahead and just interact with my page right away. So I can explore my map and switch between both for a given map extent. Now, let's add some more widgets to this app. Under the search, there's a widget controller. If I look at the top toolbar here, I have the option to add more widgets to this controller. And here you'll see all the different map-centric, data-centric, and page elements that you can add to your app. Map-centric widgets require to be connected to a map widget to work and allow you to interact with your maps. So for example, we could add a legend, a base map gallery, a widget to draw on the map, and the elevation profile widget so that I can actually look at the profile of the trails in Yosemite. Now, I can add as many widgets as I want to this controller. Once I've added them, I can go to the Manage Widgets window. And now I can reorder them, delete them, or even I could group them. So let's group the legend and the base map gallery together. And now, these widgets will show up within a panel and are collapsible. Again, I can directly interact with my widgets as I configure them. So I could switch my base map here to test it out. In the elevation profile, I can connect it to my layers in the web scene to allow users to select trails on the map to view their profile. So these were examples of map-centric widgets. Some widgets are data-centric and can connect directly to standalone feature layers or the layers in the map themselves. So for example, in this template, there is a panel at the bottom that is collapsible. I'll make this button visible here so users can expand and collapse this panel, which includes a table widget that shows attributes for the different assets in my map, including the trails. Now, I'd like for the map to zoom to a trail when I select it in the table. In Express mode, there's a very simple toggle option that allows you to set up actions like these. So under Message Actions, for record selection change, so basically when I select a record in the table, I want an action on the map widget, and I want to zoom to it. So now if I choose one of my trails, let's do the Mirror Lake loop. If I choose one of these, you'll see that the zoom extent changes to go to that segment. Now, this is right now a very simple app with just a search and some widgets, but I'd like to add more to it. And let's start with a header and a title for the app. The header options are in the page settings. So I'll go to my page settings by clicking the drop down here. And on the right side, you can see there's a header toggle. So I can turn this on. And now I already have a text widget here that I can simply fill out. So I'll type in Yosemite National Park Trails as a title for my app. And now I actually want to do more. I want to add another page to my application. Now in Express mode, it's great, right? It's simple. You build a one-page, simple map app. But if you want to add more pages, if you want to drop more widgets somewhere on the page, you don't have that ability. You need to go to the full mode builder, to the advanced builder, right? So I could stop here and be happy, or I can go do more. So I'll save this. And under more options, you'll see an option that says switch to full mode. Now, okay, some text and more options. Move directly. Move directly means I'm taking the app I just built and I'm moving it to that full mode, that full advanced builder. If I do this, I can't go back. I can't go back to the Express mode. It's a one-way road. If I move a copy, it means I'll keep the current app I built in this Express mode, and a new one will be generated to be used in the full mode. So it's your choice. It depends what you're trying to do. Maybe you want one simple app for some users and then a more advanced one for others. Keep a copy and then go to full mode with another app. For now, we'll just move directly. Now, in my new app, you can see there's a lot more buttons now in my interface, a lot of more things I can do, and we'll go through some of that. But first, what is it that we want to do, really? So if I want to add another page, what am I putting in that other page? Well, I have some more resources. I have this story map for expeditions in Yosemite that showcases trails that people can go explore. And I have this current conditions website from the National Park Service that actually tells me which roads are open and anything I need to know about the park before I get there. So I want to embed both of these websites into a new page in my app. So now in full mode, I can start customizing this further. The first thing I'll do is I can actually move widgets on the page wherever I want. So I can grab this widget controller And let's say I put it on the top right, and I'll change it to be top down. In the full mode, you'll also find all your building blocks for creating your application on the left toolbar. So I can now open the page panel, and here I can create new pages. When you create a new page, you'll find full screen app and scrolling page options. So all these templates are great ways to get started, as they're pretty easy to customize. And you'll find that some templates are map-centric, so they have a map in the middle. Some of them are for building dashboards. Others will allow you to build web pages. So for my page, I'll simply use a blank full screen, and I'll start from scratch. Now I can also name my pages. So my new page will be resources, and my home page will be trails. Now for my new page, I will also turn on the header. And you can see that the header content is already there. So headers are shared between pages. So you configure them once, and then you simply turn them on for your other pages. So let's reduce the text size a little bit here. Let me make some more room so you can see. And now I can simply drop widgets on the page to add more. So from the Insert Widget panel, this is where you'll find all the widgets you can use, including layout widgets. So to navigate between my pages, I will use a menu widget, and I will add it to the header. Now I can customize this menu, and I'll use a different style. I'll use pills, and I'll increase the size of the text. And I can simply drag it to position it. Now, when I'm in the full mode builder, to interact with my application, I actually need to turn on the live view at the top. So once I click this, I can actually use my widgets, and here you can see I can now switch between my two pages using the menu. Now I want to embed my two websites on this page. So what I'll do is I'll add a section widget. Now, a section widget can have multiple views. So think of it as a page within a page, multiple pages within one page. So let's make it full size. And now within my section, I'll add an embed widget. And this is where I can actually add the link to the content I want embedded. So I'll grab the links I had for my story map, and it gets automatically loaded within my page. And now going back to my section, I can use the outline here to find my widgets. I'll add another view to my section, so another page within my page, by simply duplicating. And now on this page, in this view, I will add my National Park Service website. Now I can also rename those two views. So one of them is going to be information, and my first one is expeditions. Now, to be able to navigate between those two views, I also need some kind of menu. In the case of sections, that menu is actually called a views navigation. So I'll add some space at the top, and going back to my layout widgets, and right below, in the section, you'll find a views navigation widget. And I can drop this one onto the page, and use some styling options. And again, I can customize how it looks, increase the text size. And now this widget will simply allow me to navigate the views within my page. So if I turn on the live view, you'll see I can switch between my two embedded sites. Now, optionally, when you build your application, when you choose a template, you'll be provided with a default theme. Right now, this is orange, and there's some predefined styling. If you want to change that, you can simply go to the Theme tab, and then there are some other defaults you can use here. For example, I could switch to a dark theme. And I can also customize the primary color. Let's say I change it to green. And the theme font, I'll change it to Georgia. And then when you do that, you'll see that any theme changes that you make will be applied to all the pages of your application. Okay, so I'll save this app. And now, if you take a look on the top ribbon here, it says draft. There's a little icon. So right now, my application only belongs to me. I haven't shared it out. It's still in draft state. But at any time, I can preview this app into a new browser tab to test it out. So you can see I can switch between my maps. I can test out my widgets. And I can also navigate my pages and my views. If I'm happy with my app, I can go ahead and publish it. Now, once my app is published, obviously I'll need to share it with my organization or with the public, and I can use the published link to share it out, or I can share out a QR code for it. If I want to make further changes to my application at this point, it's not too late. I can, at any time, come back and make changes. So let's say, for example, I want to make this search bar smaller and save this change. You'll see now unpublished changes. So that means I made some changes to my app in the builder, I saved it, but I haven't hit publish yet. This is important because it means that while your users are using your application out there, you can come in here and start making changes throughout a week, throughout a month if you want, and work on those changes until you're ready to share them out. Right? Their changes will be present in your builder, but it won't become available to the public out there until you click publish again. All right, and now I'll switch it back to Jincha.
That's awesome, right? Thanks, Alex. That's great demonstration of the Experience Builder. I have a question for Alex. When I moved apps from Express mode to full mode, it looks like all my configuration will be carried over. Is that right?
You're right.
Okay.
You won't lose your configurations.
So that's by design, okay? So don't worry. But in fact, you apps live in two library in that way, right? It's apps on the Express mode library. Apps live in the full mode library. But when you go to My Content in online, those apps all share the same on your online. It doesn't categorize those. They are only categorized on the Builder, when you go to Experience Builder website. So they're always listed there on My Content. Anyway, let's talk about those building blocks. So Alex mentioned on the left side of the Builder are building blocks. We assemble them like template, widget, data, theme together through the Builder user interface to create experiences. Next, we'll explore these building blocks one by one. First, template. The easiest way to get started is to use templates. The product comes with 3 types of default templates. The full screen template is for map-centric apps like Web App Builder. The scrolling template is for web pages and websites like those embedding story maps, and a grid for dashboards. The public templates built by the product team showcase the capability of the product and the new features at each release. So we will add new template under ArcGIS Online every release. Additionally, you can easily generate a template from the app as your starters for reuse and branding. There are more than 50 widgets in Experience Builder. They are either basic widgets like search and map, or layout widgets like row and column, sidebar. A layout widget is a new concept compared to Web App Builder. So it is a container defining the alignment of widgets it contains. A basic widget usually has 3 properties, which are content, style, and action. You can set animation in the style property. There are 2 types of actions. In Web App Builder, we don't have action concept. That's why we want to emphasize here. A data action is initiated by end users with a click, like export data to a CSV file. A message action is set by app creators like you, so that widgets can respond to each other automatically. It consists of 3 parts: trigger, target, and actions. Alex will demonstrate how actions work.
Okay, so taking the application that we started earlier, let's set up some more actions for widgets. So in Express mode earlier, we configured an action to zoom to the features on the map when I select them in the table. Now in full mode, for the table configuration, you'll see an action tab, and you'll see that action here that I configured earlier is still there. But now I'll add to it. So let's set up another action so that the selected trail is also loaded into the elevation profile widget automatically. So basically, when I'll click a trail in the table, it will zoom to it on the map, but also show the profile right away. So I'll add an action for record selection changes. And here I can choose my widget target will be elevation profile, and I'll click view profile. Now, if I turn on the live view, I can test this out. I'll go to my trails, and I'll pick one of the trails here. It zooms to it. But now it looks like I actually need to click the elevation profile widget for my profile to open. But I want this to happen automatically, right? So I'll go back to the table actions here, and I'll need to add one more action. Now, when I select a record in the table, I also want a widget to open automatically in the widget controller. And I'll choose elevation profile. So now this is an action against the widget controller itself when I select data. So let's try this again. Click the trail. Okay, it zooms to it, opens my widget, but now where's my profile? Well, the order of actions as you configure them can matter. So I'll go back to my table, to my actions, and I'll move open widget to happen before view profile. So let's try this again. I'll clear this, click, and here you go. Everything opens and loads my profile at once. Now going back to my action settings. So there was message action, but there's another tab here that says data action. Now, data actions are enabled by default, and these will allow users to process data in your app on demand. For example, I'll zoom in here so you can see better. There's a small button on the top right of the table that says Actions. And if I click this, it opens a panel with some options. One of them is, for example, I can zoom to the feature I selected. I already automated this, so I don't need to do that. But there's some further options here, including actions against all the data within that trails layer. I could look at statistics, and I could take a look at one of my attributes, which is miles. And I can actually see the total number of miles of trails in my data set with just a few clicks. There's about 900 miles of trails in this data set. So what you need to remember about message actions and data actions, well, message actions are actions between widgets. Think of it as widget actions. And data actions are actions on the data. They're on demand. They're not automatic. And I'll pass it back to Jinsha.
Thank you. So actions really train widgets together for streamlined workflows, right? They listen to each other. That's why we call them smart widgets. We follow the concept. Let's take a look at data. You can add web maps, web scenes, and the layers as data sources. So the data source in Web App Builder only the web map or web scenes, but in Experience Builder there are more. Data can be used by any widgets because they share at the framework level. There are connections between map, layer, and widget. When you remove data that is in use by widgets, you will get a warning message. Are you sure you want to remove those? So that you know, be careful about your data because they share at the app level. A data may have different views. A default view includes all the features in the layer. The data view could be multiple, allowing you to sort or filter data in different ways. The selected features view, for instance, allowing you to display a species photo when a species feature is selected. If you're not selected that one, you will not see the photo. That's called selected feature view. Some widgets like query can generate a result as output data, which can be used as input data for other widgets. For example, display a query result in a table. You may also dynamically display field values, statistics, and expressions using dynamic content. So Alex, again, is going to show how to use dynamic content and the data view.
Okay, so as Jinsha just said, some widgets generate a result as data, as an output you can use in other widgets. The elevation profile widget is an example of that. So since the elevation profile widget generates statistics, I'd like to actually customize the way some of those statistics are displayed instead of using this panel. So right now, if I was to make changes to the selection of trails, you'll see that those statistics update dynamically. And the output generated by the profile widget will also update dynamically. So what I'll do is I'll add a text widget to my application. And sometimes I find that it's easier to just search for it. And I'll place it somewhere on my page. Let's put it at the top here. And now I have the option to connect this text widget to data. So yes, I could just use it as text and type some stuff in there, paste some images, but I actually can connect it to my data and use attributes, use my data to provide dynamic content, to provide dynamic context in my app. So I'll select data, and I'll connect it to the trails layer in the web scene I have right now. Now there's a small toolbar at the top of the text widget, and one of the buttons is dynamic content. When I click it, I get this window. And now I can combine typed text with actual values. So I'll type in distance. And I'll insert an attribute value for, where is it? Right. So first you need to choose, right. So the first thing you need to do is connect it to the right data source. So when you go to select data, you have your maps, but we're talking about the outputs. So elevation profile generates that output. So in this case, I'll actually connect it to the output from the elevation profile widget. So when I go to choose my dynamic content, I'm now presented with the elevation profile statistics that were generated by the widget. So here, now I can pick the distance that's generated. And I can also add more values. So let's add the elevation gain. And I'll choose that value. So now if I click anywhere else, you'll see the values are automatically populated based on what I had selected with the elevation profile earlier. I can also customize the display here. So let's add a background to this widget. So the text stands out. We can increase the size of the text and center it. And I'll set my sizing and my positioning to pixels so that no matter what happens, if my window size changes, so let's say I take this app on a smaller device or a bigger one, this text size won't change. It'll just remain the same in the same position on the page, right? Pixels means fixed, basically. So now, if I turn on the live view and I go back to using my elevation profile widget and I select a new segment, you'll see the values will update dynamically based on my current elevation profile. Now, there's other options you have as well. You can show statistics and dynamic expressions. So I can actually connect my text widget to more than one data source. So now I'd like to show how many individual trails there are in this data set. And I'd also like to show how many miles of trails there are in my data set. So this time, I will indeed connect it to the trails layer from my map. And I'll add some more text in this text box. So I can add statistics, dynamic content. So under statistics, this time I'll choose my trails. And I will count the total number of individual trail names in my data set. And I can type in trails. And now you can see there's 116 individual trails in my data set. Next, I could use an expression to determine the total number of miles of trails. So under functions, I'll choose the sum. And under fields, this time, I'll choose my miles. And now expressions also allow you to do some number formatting. So here I can say I don't want any decimals, and I can insert that value in my text widget and type in miles. So there's 116 trails and 898 miles of trails. Now, it's called dynamic content because this will update dynamically if there's changes to my data. So if there's new trails in Yosemite, maybe there'll be 120 trails now that will show up in my app. If there's more miles, the miles number will change. So as you make changes to your data, as you edit your data, those values will reflect that. Now, one more concept that's important to understand is data views. So right now you can see, if I look at the connected data in my text widget, there's a drop down. You can see two data views: default, basically all my data, and selected features. That's when I actually select a feature. That's considered a data view. You can do things with that or those selected features. But you can also create custom data views. You can apply filters to only show subsets of your data. So let's go ahead and create our own data view for the trails layer. And what I want to show is only the trails that belong to the Half Dome expedition. So I'll go to my data panel, and I'll go to my web scene. Right now I'm using the trails layer, and here you'll see an option to create a view. I'll give it a name, Half Dome, so I can recognize it later. And I'll add a filter. And I'll filter for the trail name. That is Half Dome. So now this created a data view with only the 5 trail segments for Half Dome. So now what I'd like to do is only show those 5 trails in my table widget. So our table widget was at the bottom here in that collapsible panel. And now you'll see on the right side, you can connect the table widget directly to the map. In this case, it will show all the layers in the map and their attributes. Or since it's a data-centric widget, you can also connect it directly to specific layers. So I'll change the mode here, and I'll connect it to the trails layer in my map. And now I can change the view. Instead of having all the data, I'll only show Half Dome. So now there's only 5 segments displaying in my table. Fortunately, the actions that I configured earlier are still there, and they still work. So now I can just click one of my segments. It zooms to it and loads it into the elevation profile widget. Finally, I'd like to add some information that will display about the trail when I select it. And I can use the selected features data view to do that. So while you can display the pop-ups from the map by using the default pop-up when clicking a feature on the map, you can also use the feature info widget to display pop-up information anywhere on the page. So I'll go back to my insert widget panel, and I'll look for the feature info widget, and I'll drag it somewhere on my page. And now I can connect this widget directly to my trails layer, and I'll choose the selected features option. So when nothing is selected, you'll see a message for no data found because nothing is selected yet. You can customize that message. Or, I think the customization is at the bottom here. And now, if I was to select a segment, like we did earlier, you'll also see the pop-up for that feature show up automatically in the feature info. Okay, and now I'll pass it back to Jincha.
Thanks, Alex. So I think a data view is a very great concept so that you can pre-process data on the client side, right, without changing the feature service at a server side. The theme is for branding. We all know that. So we can choose the colors and the fonts for the apps we like to use. Page in the window, as Alex demonstrated, is very useful as the canvas that you can draw widgets on the top. A page has a header and footer. You already see that. We already have this concept called outline as a table of content, helping you navigate widgets on the page. We can also add multiple pages. A window is to display information. Some may require user to interact with, such as confirming terms and conditions. There are two types of window. A fixed window like splash screen displays when an app starts, while an anchored window is attached to a widget. For example, clicking this button to get more information. To run apps on devices, we can configure one app with 3 configurations for large, medium, and small screen sizes. There are 2 key features to the success of mobile optimization. One is auto versus custom mode. The other is pending list, which is a place to store widgets used by other screen sizes. Let's turn to Alex for optimizing apps on mobile.
All right, so let's take our app and customize it for a small screen device. So at the top here, I have some options to switch, to customize for those devices. Now you can see it's already providing automatically a default layout for mobile, but there's some problems with it. You can see that the title here doesn't display properly, and so does the menu, and the widgets I added on top of the map are gone. Now any widget that disappeared, you'll find it in the Insert Widget panel under the pending list. So those widgets are basically being hidden for my small screen, but they're still visible on the large desktop screen device. You can see at the top here, the header is set to auto. So that means that the content in the header right now is synchronized automatically with the content from my desktop, which explains maybe why this isn't displaying as expected. At the bottom, this is already set to custom, so I can go ahead and customize the display for that screen. So I'll switch the header to custom as well, so I can make changes to it. Now, what I'll do first is I will actually hide this text widget here, because even if I was to make it display fully, you'll see that my text won't fit. So I'll move this one to the pending list so it's hidden from my mobile device. And then going back to desktop, you'll see that this is still available here for my large screen device. So it's only hidden for my small screen. And you can also see that it's now been moved to my pending list here. Now again, I can also move widgets without affecting my large screen. So if I move this one on the bottom right, for the large screen, you'll see that it's still on the top left. Now we don't have a title anymore for this app, so I'll go ahead and I can also add a new widget that will only show up for my small device. So I'll drag a text widget, I'll type in a shorter title, and customize the display of it. Now going back to my large screen, I still have my full title, but I'll have my small title for the small screen. Now let's address the menu problem. Now I could move this, but it's still not quite gonna fit how I want to. So really what I would like is to have a simple icon, right? Now the problem is, as you can see, this change here is a content change. So if I make this content change to my widget and I go back to the large screen device, you'll see that that change is also reflected on the large screen device. So content changes are always going to reflect across all the devices. So instead, what I need to do, and let's first undo this change, is I will duplicate the widget, and I'll move the original one to pending, so that means it'll be hidden from this small screen, but still exists in the large screen. So I'll click Move to Pending List, and now I can make changes to the duplicated one. And I duplicated it because basically this allows me to keep all my existing configurations. So now I have my small icon here and the full menu on my large device. Okay, so let's save this and let's preview it. Now, I like to use the developer tools on the browser to quickly test out my apps when I build a mobile experience. So now I can choose a device. I usually go with a really small iPhone because I get a good idea of if this is going to display properly. And now I can interact with my app. So let's zoom out here a little bit. Now you can see I can use the menu to switch between pages. My views that I configured earlier are still there. And now on mobile view, you can see that the widget controller automatically will open your widgets in a collapsible panel. And you can still interact with your map and switch between your two maps. So when you're happy with this change, you can go ahead and publish it, and now your users will be able to load your app on their mobile devices. And now I'll pass it back to Jinchao.
Well done. So that's all the demos we have. I know we are going to speed up a little bit. We still have a little bit content to go. So integration. So it's strengths of Experience Builder. So you can create workflows from a rich set of ArcGIS capabilities into one single web application seamlessly. In addition to printing maps, you can also create reports using the print widget and the feature report widget using Server 123. The former is using custom printing services you publish from Pro. So we quickly touch Developer Edition, right? Is the value of why you're using Developer Edition is they have open source widgets. All the ready used widgets are open sourced. So you can learn from there as a great example. And the GMU library is extension framework. So basically, we put all the Legos, all the capabilities from the ready-to-use widgets to this Lego library called GMU. So you can reassemble them to create your own castle. Design system is different from calcite if you're using ArcGIS calcite design system. But you can also integrate those calcite design systems as a custom widgets into Experience Builder, no problem. In fact, some of our widgets wrapping up Maps SDK also leverage the underlying calcite component. Let me see. Yeah, it's coded, right? You can custom widgets and the themes are portable. They can be coded once and deploy anywhere. So GMU is the framework for accessibility built on 4 components: Maps SDK for JavaScript, React, Redux, and the Bootstrap 4 for user interface, and HTML5. So like Web App Builder, you can, there are 2 commonly used widgets deployment patterns. For Experience Builder, it's the same. One is to deploy apps with custom widgets to a web server, and the other is to add custom widgets to ArcGIS Enterprise. So everyone in your organization can access Enterprise, can create custom apps with your custom widgets. Those configurations exactly like any out-of-box widgets. So in summary, Experience Builder, with Experience Builder, you can quickly create apps in Express mode and do more in Full mode with no code. And when needed, do more with low code. So Express mode, Full mode, no code, low code. That's the character of the product. Here's a quickly roadmap 2025. So the color in orange is for the parity of Web App Builder. So you are able to generate reports using Near Me. That's a really demanding feature from Web App Builder community. You can also add image as part of the text widget so that you can create great splash screen and guide like how to use the app. In the third quarter, we are going to have a batch attributes editing migrate from Web App Builder. We also support arcade expression as new features so that you can do something like ArcGIS dashboards to dynamically display something, change the color, for example, the color of the fonts based on conditions. We also have a GeoBeam widgets so that you can use AutoCAD in Experience Builder to create your workflows. And the notebook web tool for emergency response guide widget is for public safety purpose. At the end of the year, we will have login widget so that you can sign in, sign out app. That's the basic functionality, right? But more how we can control the content access based on your privilege. That is something still in the design, but we try to do more other than just sign in, sign out. The last piece of priority features from Web App Builder is copy-paste geometry and cut, merge, reshape geometry as well. So we try to hit them at the end of the year. You can learn more. At the conference, we have these tips and tricks for designing and building exciting apps as presented by Michael at the end there. So he's really great designer. And we also have advanced customization for create custom widgets and the themes. Check them out, please. Helpful resources. The last piece is we have this new book. Alex, can you introduce a little bit about this new book?
Yeah, basically, this book will take you through 20 essential tips. How do we say it? Essential skills to get started with Experience Builder. So you'll be able to learn how to build different types of apps for different workflows. And we've inserted a lot of small tips and tricks and best practices in there for you. So
okay,
coming out in June, hopefully you'll enjoy it.
Alex and Michael are two authors. Thank you. So we are open for questions. Sorry, we a little bit run a little bit late, but we are open still here. So any questions?